What's up, buddy? I've been trying to get this Streamlabs to work for like an hour and 10 minutes now, but finally got it to work right. Alright, so you can obviously see that you're on here. Woohoo! Alright, so we are going to talk about the cat in the bag, the one I couldn't talk about for such a long time. I researched into the Voynich manuscript. So I don't know if you know uh, much about it, so I'm going to go ahead and just, you know, talk about what I can, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Okay, so this is the front cover of the Voynich manuscript. Obviously, it was bound much later, but um, the Voynich manuscript is called the Cipher manuscript by Yale, but colloquially, vernacularly, it's the Voynich manuscript because it was found by a man named Wilhelm Voynich. Okay, in I believe it's 1901 or 1910. I still to this day get it confused, but that's okay. Um, and and it was found by Wilhelm Voynich, so that's where it gets the name from. And it was said that the Habsburg dynasty royals had it in their possession. The bag and the cat. Cat in the bag. I can see your chat here, which, I mean, obviously everybody else can now, but for some reason, it does not show up in my multi-stream chat for Streamlabs. I wonder why. I don't like that very much. Huh. Maybe I need to add its own source, which I shouldn't have to do that. Yeah, no. Oh, that's no bueno. I legit have to look at an entirely different... Say hi to everybody. There we go. I've separated it, so now they can't see the chat. But still, I'm gonna put it back together because otherwise it treats the application differently. All right, let's move forward. Crap. All right, I have an idea. Full of ideas. Let's see here. Of course it would do that. Of course. What's this button? What's this button do? Oh my god, that's a pop-out chat. That's what that is. That's awesome. So glad human beings have curiosity. We wouldn't get very far without it. Then again, we wouldn't get very far with it, but... Alright, so, you still in here? Sweet. Alright, feel free to like and share the live, or just share it, because, yeah, that would be awesome. You don't have to sit there and like it all day long, just share it as much as you can. Okay, so what do you know about the Voynich manuscript, dear heathen? Like, I know it's on the screen, and I'm gonna read it off. No, that's fine. I'm just messing. Perfect. All right. So, okay. So this is this really old book. Okay. Bunch of weird plant drawings. And it gets pretty stranger as you get toward the back. Okay. Uh, let's put this over here. Okay. So you see this really weird text. This is this old manuscript. It's just over 600 years old. It has not been able to be deciphered. Even the language itself has been unknown because they don't know what they're looking at the script, right? Um, so it's 600 years since the very moment pen to, pen to paper existed, right? The moment it was written, no one other than the author, supposedly, he could have told somebody else, but uh, knew what it meant. And I decided after watching a documentary in 2023, it was October of 2023, uh, that I was going to decipher it. I decided that that's what was going to happen. Hi, Sylvia. And, you know, I don't know, I just kind of knew in my gut that it was going to happen. I was like, I'm going to do this. I was like, I'm going to do it. So might as well get to doing it, right? And, my persistence has paid off. And this is a perfect example of why and how that happened. So, this is my book. It's the weird looking one, with the wax seal. This is my book in the National Security Agency's library. And thank you to Robert Simpson, the archivist and librarian of the National Cryptologic Museum, for making this happen. Awesome dude. So thank you to him very much. Now my book is in the NSA's National Cryptologic Museum on their shelves, even next to Yale's book on the Voynich manuscript. So it's a huge, huge surreal moment, and it's quite an honor. So, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to answer as I go along, and I'm more than happy to pause it live to answer it at length. Okay, so I really, oh, thank you. Yeah, I know. I've been gone for quite a while. And this is why. I have my academic projects and I just get so engrossed in them because they're my happy place. Holy crap, Mango. Hey, it's good to see you again. I missed you too. I missed you too. Seriously. Um, but yeah, this is what I've been doing. This is the thing that I kept mentioning in my other lives that I was working on. It was this. The thing that shall not be named. Yes, it was this. Well, now I know its name, which is even more hilarious. All right, let's get back on track. Okay, because it's almost 1 o'clock. Eef, I haven't even gotten into any of the material. All right, right? So this is the Voynich manuscript, okay? On R. And we're going to go over my book, okay? My book is the Voynich Manuscript, the Cipher, and the Compendium. It is available on Amazon and Ingram Spark for purchase. Ingram Spark, I think, does a better print job, but Amazon, of course, I mean, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Uh, it's got faster shipping. So, okay, so the Voynich manuscript uh, was said to be housed by the Habsburg dynasty. Okay, and I'm not going to go into a lot of that because that would take way too long. The first huge portion of my book is about that. Uh, and, okay, and this is a little bit here, talking about the structural, uh, the architecture, okay, and this one of the celestial maps that indicate a Swiss German origin. Look, you've got the crenulation here on the castle, right, and the celestial map of the Voynich. And then if you look here, it's the same type, and this is a Swiss German monastery or convent. So there's that. This is Clemens Specker's work here, who I believe is the author of the Voynich manuscript. Okay. He draws, there's Königswald Abbey, which is where he is sacristan at during the 1470s as an old man. Let's see. Before I go into decipherment, actually, wait, 1 minute. Hi, Ghost Wolf. Okay. So we're going to skip all this, but pretty much it's my explanation of why Clemens Specker is the author of the Voynich manuscript, and at the very least, why a Swiss-German origin is the most plausible. Okay. Huge reason why that is because of the word curatorium. Okay. Curatorium is actually right here. The word curatorium. Okay. This is a C. This is a 7. R. O. And then rum. Okay. The 7 represents UR. So this is C-U-R. Curatorium. Trust me, this is what it is. Okay. And this word is a Latin word. Okay. 99% so far of the Voynich manuscript is Latin. There is one German word, and that is the word for seeds. It's Samen. Okay, and in Germanic circles, in the medieval period, scribes would use the word curatorium. In fact, that is actually where it's derived from. The word curatorium is in Germanic scribal social circles. And because they were Germanic, they spelled it with a K. So once it becomes a loan word into Latin, they start spelling it with a C. So So here we have the word curatorium, and this is the name of the first portion of the book. Okay. The second portion of the book of the Stellarium Aster. Okay, the codex of the star constellations. And here we have the sign for codex. Okay. This is the 9 for con. The cool thing about this ligature is that it is both an F and an ST, but it can also be an RT. It just depends. So the neat thing about the text, see how it looks like it's all the same stuff? It's because he stacks meaning for each siglum, each glyph, but there's still a constrained set of meanings. Yeah, my viewer count is off for some reason. I'm not understanding why that is the case, but it is. So. Oh, cool. I'm so jealous. I wish I were in the woods. Okay, so in the opening sentence, okay, he automatically tells us the two names or the two sections in the manuscript. The Codex Constellarium Aster and then the Curatorium. Okay, so the Curatorium is the herbal section of the manuscript. The Codex Constellarium Aster is all of the star astrology stuff in the back. Okay, but what's really cool, okay, we know now that the language is medieval Latin with one German word, right? We know it's Swiss German in origin. We now know that the language is medieval Latin, but how in the world did I get to this point? How did I know to look for Latin? Because I looked at many languages, but none of them fit. So, where'd it go? Where are we? Excuse me. There we go. Okay. So we're going to talk about the cipher key, okay? Yes, and in my next edition, this will be at the beginning, not at the end. So this is the Rosetta Stone, okay? It tells us what language. Time for a bloat. Oh, awesome. So we're going to talk about the cipher key. How did I figure out what it said? So at the very last page, we have the cipher key. Okay, it's on 116V. Yep, the Rosetta Stone. Very good. Okay, this passage here. There's some German down here. Okay. I know that this portion was recognized as German, so I need to guess me. This other was a little bit confusing, but this is German right here. Okay, and we also have Latin, and then of course the Voynich abbreviation here. So it's all mixed together. Okay, so this word here, or I should say phrase, is what has caught people off guard for a long time. Uh, so the huge problem here is that this has been interpreted as an A here and here, but they are not A's. This is an A, but these two are not A's. Okay, this is an E and an I, and an E and an I. This is not in one entire word. It's two different words. It's two very different words. Okay. So T-O-N is its own word, tone. Okay, and then we have mihi, or michi. C is of course added in medieval Latin. In classical Latin, this word would be mihi, M-I-H-I, but medieval Latin is M-I-C-H-I. So it's michi and then tone. But T-O-N is not a word. It's an abbreviation. So T-O-N is totiens. Michi, totiens. And then instead of this being ola, olei. O-L-E-I. This is a D right here. So it's not da bos, but dei bos. Michi, totiens, olei, dei bos. And then bos is also an abbreviation for beatus. So it's michi, totiens, olei, dei, beatus. Okay. And then this is where it gets annoyingly interesting. Yes. This is quite the minim right here. Okay. Really, it's just an N and an M. But, okay. So, it says, Michi, totiens, olei, dei, beatus, numen licet, quatuor talis, tenior, tenere, naturalis ordinare, triplicis mixtura, simplex, mea rexit, enim habitent, mei rei enim, aster ordinat curati. And this is where the German comes in after cum, and then Welsh, uberen soninges mich. Now, going back to the Swiss German origin, right? He says something interesting here with the word Welsh, right? Welsh. And he spells it, right? He spells it V-E-I, okay? He spells it V-E-I. Again, here, this is E-I, not an A, okay? V-E-I-L-S-C-H. Welsh. That's a very Alemannic German way of writing Welsh. W-E-L-S-C-H. It's the same word. It's just spelled, locally the way he would spell it, which was a Swiss German dialect, not regular German. So there's only a very small area in where the author would have come from because of how he's spelling this. Okay, and the next word is uberen. Okay, but he just doesn't put an E in between. It's U. He spells it U-B-R-E-N. Again, remember, a V and a U are the same thing. That's why they pretty much look the same. Anyway, so let's read it in English, you guys. Drum roll, everybody. My awesome 2 viewers. All right, so this is going to tell you you're looking for Alemannic German, and medieval Latin. Okay, highly redacted medieval Latin, German, inside the Voynich text. Okay, thank you for the rolls. All right, so it says, I have myself so often been blessed by the oil of God. The divine power permits the four, meaning the four humors. Such am I held to keep the natural order, a simple mixture of threefold, referencing the oil, the stars, and the plants used to create electuaries. He says, it ruled over mine, and it was ruled by my authority, for indeed let them live for the sake of my being. The star determines the cure with strange things beyond or from afar. So take my spirit. Now, we have a Swiss-German monk writing this work during the early 1400s. Okay, so not prior or not beyond 1450. What would be strange and from afar to a European monk during the early 1400s? Anybody? What happened to my chat? What? Can't see anything. Hold on, let me refresh. Paganism. Yes, of course. Absolutely, paganism. Yes, you are right. Paganism. Yep. Happened to be paganism from the Far East. So, I think why this resonates with me so well. Um, so yeah, everything is from far away, right? He says from afar, the Far East. Okay, because obviously at this time period, the New World wasn't a thing. It wasn't on anybody's radar, right? Because it wasn't 1492 yet. It was literally right before that. But so it was the Far East. So I knew to look for plant identifications from the Far East. I had already had 3 at the point of me deciphering this last passage. I had star anise, peony orchid, and Chinese musa. Okay, so it was already in that direction. I was like, there's no way. I was like, what is going on with this? Chinese musa? That can't be right. And then I found out I was right. So, yeah, started looking into the Far East. Okay, but just to give you an idea, look at this little drawing of an animal here. I can't tell what that is. I know what this person is. Obviously, it's a lady of some sort, right? But what in the world is this? Why does it look like a Teletubby? It looks like a Teletubby. Anyway, it's the new Teletubby. Or Care Bear, even, actually. I like Care Bear better. With a little belly heart. Anyway. Alright, so I'm going to show you some really cool other folios or pages. Here we've got some plants, but I want to show you the other stuff. Alright, so here we have the very famous celestial map. Okay. It's a huge fold out. So here's the actual page. It folds out this way. This giant section. And it starts here in the corner. And then it goes this way. You see the sun there. Weird tubes and pathway here. Looks like a candle, doesn't it? It's not a candle. You can see stars. This one is important. I mean, all of it's important, but yeah, this is one of the first things I noticed. This little part right here. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and talk about it. All right. This is a tent. It's a very 2D version of a 3D tent, but it's a tent. Right? You can see the posts here. This is actually a Persian style tent. I know this because I've been scouring manuscripts. So, there's a Persian royal tent. They come in two separate sections. This is the top. This is the pointy top of a pyramidal structure, right? But looking down on it, I was like, why does this look familiar? We're talking about plants, right? And water. So, the more I stared at this, the more I realized that this is the Garden of Eden. And I say that because there are 4 rivers in Eden, and here are rows of gardens. It's a garden. These are... I come from a farming background, so I look at this and I'm like, oh, it's, it's a crop field. And that's exactly what it is. These are little plants in rows. And these are the 4 rivers of the Garden of Eden. And that's not a stretch. Let me tell you why. Okay. We have let me get to it. I was just at it. Where was it? Right here. Okay. This is the Garden of Eden tent. Here's the map. Okay, the map of Mundi, or the world map, depicted in the following. And you're more than welcome to look this up. Okay. Albergo de Osma, Codex 1, written in 1086. Okay. This is the world map of the known world at the time. Okay. And here is paradise, the Garden of Eden, as a box with an X for the rivers, for the 4 rivers that are going out the center of Eden. So I was able to confirm my suspicions. This indeed is Paradiso. Okay. And so I was like, oh, I'm looking for a garden. What's garden? What? I was like, wait a minute, what's the Latin word for garden? Trust me, I've learned quite a bit about some things. The Latin word for garden is hortus, Hortus. I already knew that 9 on the end of Latin abbreviation was a vowel plus S. So I just looked in here. was one of the first things I ever noticed. This word. Okay. This literally looks like a child is writing ortus. Okay. When you write fast, do you do loops? I'm sure everybody can say yes. When you write fast, you tend to not lift the pen. Okay. You just make a loop. What's the point? Everybody knows what you mean, you know. And it saves time. So, that's what he's doing. O-R-T-U-S. So the 9 is a con. It represents C-O-N at the beginning of words, right? But this one at the end, it's a vowel plus S. In this instance, it's U-S. O-R-T-U-S. Ortus. Now, you're probably asking, well, where's the H? Initial H's are dropped in medieval Latin. Okay, this is not classical Latin, it's medieval Latin. So he doesn't need to write an H. It's understood. So this is the word for guarded. Ortus. But ortus can also mean other things. Ort means other things. It's all related to east, rising, origin, spring, the beginning, birth. All of those things are compacted into this one word, this one glyph. So, you know, the fact that 9 can mean US, ES, OS, IS, did I miss the other ones? AS, is extremely helpful when writing this particular cipher. And I don't really like using the word cipher. I mean, it's a linguistic one. It's not a mathematical one. I mean, everyone's suspected it to be. It's linguistic. It's all visual. All right. So let's move forward. Okay, so this is the Garden of Eden. I'm like, okay, Christian monk, that makes sense, but how does that have anything to do with anything on this map? It looks like, you know, it reminded me of like the game of Sorry or the game of Life. You know, it looks like a chess piece. Just reminded me of a board game. You know, you move along each little thing, and you reach what? What's the point of it? You know, so that was the initial question I had for that. But there's that. That was my first thought on that. So you start to see that it is not a hoax. There is, you know, realness to this. I used 2 different sources heavily, okay? One of them was, I'm going to name it first because it was the most beneficial, and it's Capelli's Lexicon Abbreviaturarum, and another one is this one, the Commentary Notorum Tyronianarum. This is Tyronian Notes. It is really strange looking, but this is basically Latin shorthand. Okay, I know we have Latin abbreviations, which is what the Voynich manuscripts consist of, highly redacted. But you also have this style of shorthand, just like modern secretaries do. This is 391 pages. You know, you can go to archive.org and look at it. So I had to teach myself very narrow in scope to what I could see in the Voynich manuscript, but I taught myself what the meanings of the directions of the lines and all this stuff meant. So, yes, but my point to that was going to all of my favorites and looking at all of my favorites that I used to decipher the Voynich manuscript, but I also have some where I deciphered the Indus Valley script of India, of the Harappan civilization. But those are kind of thrown in there, so if you're wondering, that's where that comes from. Um, yes, so these are all the books I read to decipher the Voynich manuscript. I do have extras from other sites, but these are the ones from this one. Which brings us to my first, this one. Okay, so this is the Lexicon Abrupturarum by Capelli. And the wonderful thing about this is that it's actually written in hand. It's not typed. Record interpreter is typed, so you can't tell. It's just typed up. So that's a bit of a pain, but it did help with definitions. All right, moving forward. I'm going to leave all of the I thought it was Clement Specker to you guys. I suggest buying my book, or you could read it for free. I think it's currently on KDP on Amazon. The Voynich Manuscript Decipher the Compendium, and you can read all of that yourself. I go in depth into that. So I believe it is Clement Specker of Koningsveld Abbey from Canton Argot, Switzerland, in Windisch. Koningsveld Abbey was built by the Habsburg dynasty. It is their ancestral seat in Switzerland. It is not Austria. And the castle's right there as well. So it is my belief that they were his patron so that he could travel across, because it's expensive to travel even now. Yeah. Alright, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of what it says, now that I've been rambling on. Oh, and I did a Sacrobosco comparison. Sacrobosco is also another famous author during that time period for astronomical stuff. These are just side by side. Look, oh, the same exact quote unquote glyphs can be found in other works of that time period. Look, AR, the same exact one here. He even spells Erba without the H. Here's Aqua, literally the same. So I find it really difficult to believe that it was not figured out. I have a hard time believing that. I don't know. The answers were here in all of these manuscripts. Look at this. This is the Voynich. This is not the Voynich. This is a manuscript from Switzerland, from Thurgot. Again here, Voynich manuscript. Thurgot. See the S? Look at this. Liber Aster. Liber Aster. Same thing. Here we have Horus for hours. Drops the H. literally the same thing in the Voynich manuscript. You see here, this is what they call current hand. Okay, it's Germanic. See this M? He does the backwards flourish. They don't use, this is a macron, but it's not really macron, it's more of an arc. Macrons are fairly straight, but if you're writing fast, it doesn't matter. But in the Voynich, he doesn't use macrons at all. He uses the backwards flourish, which is a Swiss German convention to use that constantly. And here we have the Voynich. Okay. All right, so now we're going to read the translation of Folio 1R. We'll do another drum roll in just a minute. I do wish Yale would update their GUI or their GUI for being able to view the manuscript, because I want to click on full screen, but I literally don't want it to be full screen on my whole computer screen. I just want it to be full screen in the web browser. So that would be a nice feature to have. Yeah. All right, so here we have Folio 1R. Okay. So here in the margin, you can see where people, even scribes in the late medieval period and early Renaissance, tried to figure out what it was saying. So they would write the alphabet on the edge here. So 600 years. 600 years it has taken this long. All right, so after over 600 years of attempting to decipher MS 408, dubbed the Voynich manuscript, we will finally be able to understand its content. And with much abated breath, this is the translation of the Voynich manuscript. I'm not going to read the Latin. This is the Latin. It says, solely through the Codex Constellarium Auster, the curatorium constructed at dawn, let the correct hours be chosen. Indeed, those of the flowering curatorium, also the hours of the herbal. The calendar page's hours are also those which work to heal, moreover the electuaries, the holy electuaries and the rest, also the arranged earthly flowers, are determined from a greater electuary healing, since the electuary is indeed from the morning star. Now, ignore this part. The morning star is the sun. I no longer believe that. I need to edit that. This is an old point. Furthermore, only the olive tree, and because these oleated electuary seeds arise in the garden in the same manner, yet with greater healing, the electuary is heavenly, and very potent when you turn towards the stars. Through the stars are the rulers of the heavens, and the movement of the stars guides the work of the curers of the stars with this cure of cures. But I create this page with the oil, of which I create the electuaries. Everyone whose health is cured by flowers is cured by the more potent seeds, but ordinary seeds work in the same way also. True health is the heavenly cause of these things, for the healing is completed by heavenly powers, or made by heavenly powers. The highest heavenly healing is the source of all healing, the healing of the pages with oil of truth. The birth year is the healing of their health because of the herbal seeds, healing with herbs, flowers, heavenly seeds. The healing of the celestial electuaries is the cure of this health. Health is created by the seed of all of them. Health is created by the birth year, okay, or ani. Electuaries are the flowers, the seeds of the cure, the herb of herbs, whose flowers cure completely, and of which flowers and animals I take care of, which is commanded by the Holy Son of God. Filius Deus, right? The healing pages are arranged. I create the seeds of healing. Right? I create the seeds of healing. When you have created the work of creation, of whom the Son of God is also, the electuary is of the heal. Wait, no. The healing is of the healers, but they are sacred electuaries. The constitution of the electuary is the healing from the flower. There are heavenly cures with the stars of the year. Okay, this is the important part. Stars of the year. Healthy herbs are because of the following electuary cure. We have created cures, which are the labors of the Lord. For the electuary is the highest healing of the Son of God, to whom it is ordained, or governed, or we're told, right, commanded to create health from the herbs and oils from the seeds. It is the cure of cures and the healing of the page, of which its labor I follow, and other curatives. It is with the following. The wheel of stars, whose stars bring health. I know this says whose, but I learned later on how he's using kui and cuius is also a very collapsed way for which and not just whose. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so it says the wheel of stars, whose stars bring health. Okay, which healing electuary, the stars of healing, the stars of flowers, the stars of curatives. Okay, the electuary creation of the flowers from the stars, and that healing comes at dawn from this flower's seed, the lofty star. Notice as he puts emphasis on what kind of star this is. It's the lofty, right? Very high, very esteemed star. The seed of the electuaries. He calls the star the seed of the electuaries. Now, how interesting is that? Okay, so the stars of the electuaries with whose garden seeds this page creates in the roundel of the stars, whose flowers follow the highest sequence in curative flowers, and the electuary garden around which you will have made it. You will have made the highest, the labor of healing, which four, meaning the four humors of Galenic medicine, right? Black bile, yellow bile, blood, phlegm, and cholera. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Which page, which labors, in which table to follow? So he's telling you right off the bat the general idea of what is being discussed. Okay? Does that make sense? So we've got Codex Constellarium. I said Oster. It should say Oster, but we put star on accident. So it's Codex Constellarium. Oster means the same thing. And then, of course, the Curatorium. So these are the two sections in the Voynich manuscript. Everyone tracking? Well, what's cool about this is that that's not the only naming convention in the entire thing. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. In fact, share the live, please and thank you. And give me about 2 minutes, and you're more than welcome to ask me questions. And I'll be happy to answer them as soon as I get back. But we're going to talk about the naming, other names of folios and things like that we see. All right, give me 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the way in which he names pages is interesting. Okay, so we're about to go over the master list of all of the folio names. Okay, he says folio and then the name, right? Folio da da da, folio da da da. So far, we have 22 folio pages listed. Okay. This, of course, we know the curatorium is the herbal with all the plants, and this is the constellation of the astrological section. Okay. Uh, this is very interesting. You're probably looking at this going, what am I getting myself into here? But yes, this is exactly what you're getting yourself into. This literally is what the Voynich manuscript is about. And you're like, no, there's no way. I've seen crosses. I've seen this. I've seen that. Well, yeah, it's syncretic. It's a very beautifully written syncretic work. And I will have proof for this. So, all right, so Folio Isus is the folio of Jesus. He just drops the J, okay? Okay, and this is folio 82R. So we're going to go to folio 82R. Oh gosh, it's going to take me forever to get there. Let's see. Oops, I didn't mean to right click. Oh gosh. No, whoa. No, I'm not trying to do dev console. Thank you. Exit, please. Alright. I apologize. Alright, 82R. Alright, so this is 82R, the folio of Jesus. Where do we see Jesus? Right here, right? The baby Jesus. Okay. And of course, here is a quote-unquote Star of Bethlehem, right? We go over here where the line goes and follows back. This is Mary. She's literally wearing the light blue veil that you would see typically of Mary wearing. Now, you're thinking, why is she disrobed if that's supposed to be Mary? Isn't that a dishonor to Mary? Well, this isn't just Mary, and that isn't just Jesus. It is I don't want to call it a farce, but it is a syncretic, I like to say syncretic work. I'd like to say that. But she's disrobed like every other figure here, other than Jesus. Jesus clothed in green. But every other figure that you see is disrobed. So these two figures are very important here. Okay. Notice that they have ribbons in their hair, blue with a tiara, red and gold tiara. So this is the folio of Jesus. And that's what's being referenced, folio Isus. Okay. Jesus, and this is me jumping ahead in the doctrine, you guys. Jesus is the medicine Buddha, and Mary is Tara in Tibetan Buddhism. I know, big jump, right? But it's not. It's not a big jump. Let me tell you why. Folio 7 is the most important folio in the entire book. At least from our perspective, for now, right? It's only the most important one because it helps us define the culture in which it came from. That's the only reason, all right? That will change as we go along. All right, so here we have the bathing women, as it's been called. They are not bathing, they are making something. This green liquid is olive oil. Okay. Right here. These are all scenes of them making olive oil. Okay. These, in fact, are olives on this page. They are squeezing the olive oil out, the end of the olive, with the seed. Okay. So this is the entire master list of all of the folio names. But the most important part, right here, are these weird blue windows. Okay. There are 7 of them, and that's also important. And it's also very important that they're extremely bright blue. The shape of the window is important, and what we see inside the window is the most important. You can kind of see something here. You know something's there, but can't quite see it. There, definitely. Keep going. It's the same circle pattern, right? The same circle pattern. If you look very closely to this last one, you'll see a figure. And I'm going to scroll down to here. Right here, 253. This is a close-up of 253. Here you can see the head. Right here. The dot in between the eyes. You can see an arm here. Another arm here. This one has got a robe on it. This one has nothing on it. And he's holding a stem. His knee is here. Other knee here. Toes there and there. Okay? And if you take this, there you go. You can see it a whole lot better, right? You actually can see the bend in the arm right here. The hand with the stem of the terminalia, which is a very special plant in Tibetan Buddhism. His knees and his feet. And this is his robed arm touching the ground. Now, this figure, he's not seated in a window. These are not windows. Okay? If it was a window, they would be green. But they are archways called, in Indian, in Hinduism and Buddhism, it's called chaitya. It's an archway. Okay? These are archways, I should say. For example, here, we have these more ornate ones, okay, that are also in the celestial map I showed earlier. But then you have these very simplistic ones. And these are the ones that he's drawing right here. So this is the Buddha. This figure in this archway is the medicine Buddha specifically. And that is because he is doing what they call calling the earth to witness. Okay, and that is a mudra, which is basically a hand sign, right? That where you have the right hand down and the left hand to the chest. He is touching the earth with his right hand, with his left hand to his heart. And he is calling the earth to witness to his enlightenment. Shakyamuni Buddha, or the original Buddha, Gautama Buddha, did this mudra. He was calling the earth to witness his enlightenment. In Tibetan Buddhism, the medicine Buddha does the same mudra. Okay? He's calling the earth to witness healing, not just enlightenment, but healing, because healing is a part of the process in Kala Chakra Tantra. Right? So this is the medicine Buddha. And what's even more amazing is that the medicine Buddha is called the king of lapis lazuli light. Lapis lazuli is blue. It is a blue gemstone. So the reason why that these chaityas are blue is because it's the medicine Buddha radiating lapis lazuli light. That's literally the epithet of, or the naming convention of the medicine Buddha, the king of radiant lapis lazuli light. So that is why that is there. And on top of it, there are 7 emanations of the medicine Buddha, right? So there are 7 windows, chaityas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 chaityas. So this tile in the back of the manuscript is not a tile, it is a cut lapis lazuli gem. So now we have proof that the Voynich manuscript is Tibetan Buddhist. Right, in Tibetan Buddhism. And these women are actually what they call dakinis. They are the same depiction, but from a European man's eyes. They're disrobed, they have tiaras, and they have flowing ribbons, and or staves, or wrathful, images of these beings, right here. So these are the wisdom dakinis, wisdom spirits that are involved in the transmission of wisdom and healing, specifically. So what the women are giving, you often will see them hand over like jewelry like this. That is what dakinis do. They hand over their bangles to represent the transmission of wisdom. That's what that means. So it's very clear once you realize the correct cultural scope of this. It becomes very easy to understand. Let us go through. We haven't gone through Boompas. That's one thing I haven't gone through. Boompas. So a lot of the weird basket-looking things, as Lisa Fagan Davis has said in the past, she calls them baskets, but they are not baskets. Let's go through what the author calls the Folio Ani, or Folio Años, and that is the calendar pages, the calendar of the year, or sorry, page of the year. Which we get here. All right, so here we have the zodiac, okay? Pisces. In the medieval period, Pisces was the beginning of the year, okay, spring. These structures that the women are sitting in, well, I should say women, they're dakinis, okay? Wisdom spirits, dakinis. The dakinis are not sitting in baskets. These are not baskets. These, and in medieval times, or really any time, not just medieval, oils are kept in clay pottery, okay? They keep better because of porousness, right? So this type of pottery with all these marks are very specific to a certain part of Asia, and that is Gujarat, India. There's a very ancient type of pottery that has all of these marks. You can see them throughout. All of the same exact motifs. Here, here, it's all the same. And let me show you some pictures of the Gujarat pottery from India. Okay, so this is Kabda pottery from Gujarat, India. Okay, Gujarat. It's very old. You can see here's the holes. That's what he's depicting when he draws the circles. There's all the same ones. These are more ornate. These are not the ones that he's drawing. He's not drawing the ornate. However, take a close look at the older stuff. See how they like to cut out? They cut out here, triangles and circles. They do the same thing. So the hash marks you're seeing are not just line work. It's cut out. Here you can kind of see that a little bit better. It would be nicer if I could actually be there in person. Alas, I can't yet. So you can see this here. You'd have to go look yourself, but the evidence is absolutely there. You'll just have to look for it. I don't have enough time to devote to it, but that brings me to a good point. I should devote like a live only to the pottery. Okay, so this is Kavda pottery from Gujarat, India. Okay. These are what the women are sitting in. It's the electuary pottery. Okay, not the elixir pottery. There's two different versions. The electuaries, which is what the oils are in, right? An electuary is made out of oil or honey, but mostly oil. Those will be in that clay pottery. The elixirs are going to be in metal bumpa lids or sunokes. Sunoke is the Burmese version of a Tibetan bumpa. Okay, and this is important. Like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were. Why are we not? Why are we in 3 different countries now? Well, the important part is that Tibetan Buddhism flourished in a wide variety of areas, but also Ayurveda, and Tibetan Sour Rigpa draws from Indian Ayurveda and Chinese traditional medicine. So those two things make up Tibetan Sour Rigpa. So, let's see here. I want to show you some of the images of the other vessels in here because you'll start to see the difference quite readily. Okay, so we're going to go to the Folio Creationum, which is the Folio of Creations, which is where you create the electuaries and the elixirs. These are the sunokes. They are the more ornate versions of Tibetan bumpas. Okay, remember how we looked at Mary and Jesus on the Folio Isus page? The lids that they were standing in, those are bumpas. Those are upturned bumpa lids, Tibetan. These ones here are Burmese or Myanmar style bumpas. It's the same thing. It's a water vessel, but for sacred use. Literally, let me show you. Okay. Now, don't get confused because there are bumpas that have a water spout with a handle. Those are not the ones that we're looking at. There's a different type. Okay, we're going to go with bumpas, right? Oh, Lord. I should probably put Tibetan in front of it. Tibetan. Right. Okay. These are not the ones we're looking at. We're not looking at these ones. There's some older ones. Okay. Okay. I don't have the handle. I feel like I'm singing a teapot. What's that teapot song? Anyway. All right. So then we have Sunoke. Okay. These are the ones predominant toward the back. Are the ones that you're seeing. There's actually one image I was so thankful because I was like, wow, it's exact, perfect. Um, it made it easy. Here, you get to see the variety, right? Look, look at these things. At first, I thought they were Turkish. I really did. You see the wide variety of difference. Here you got two back to back. You got to separate them. This one goes to that one in the back. But you can see the arc right there. These ones are more wide mouthed or wide bodied. Look, see this? Look at that. Okay. The bamboo offering vessel. This is lacquered. So that's what it is. It is, these are Burmese style. Still Vajrayana Buddhism. Still Tibetan. Because, you know, some people don't. No, let me rephrase this. There are misunderstandings about how far Tibetan Buddhism and just Tibetan culture actually existed, how far it was during that time frame. And there's unfortunately, a lot of geopolitical upheaval about that very issue. And people have different opinions about the cultural climate. And this shows that Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, was much more widespread than previously believed. Yes. Okay, so these are Boompas. The other ones are Boompas. If I could just find a Tibetan monk Boompa, that would be great. Okay. One that looked exactly like it, and it was upturned, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. It was really hard to find simply because you don't have very many pictures of Tibetan Buddhist practice. So we get lucky with the Burmese versions of them because they're more popular. Anyway, I could go down a rabbit hole with that. So now we know that we've got, Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, is prevalent in the Voynich manuscript. And we also know that the women in the Voynich manuscript are the Kinis in Tibetan Buddhism. But let's go through plant identifications. That's also fun. Oh, here's another note. I love this one. This is the glyph set for Quatuor, which means 4. Okay, of course, the number 4 is prevalent because of the 4 humors, right? If you look at Capelli's lexicon, this is Quatuor. It's the same thing, except, our author doesn't do superscript. He just pulls it down to the bottom, right to the main line. So it's Quatuor. There. Okay. est right here, this sign. This is Capelli's lexicon with est. It literally is exactly the same. You just turn this sign upward over here and put the E on the end. It's est. That's literally what it is. E S T. E S T. Here are the Turonian notes. He writes Turonian notes when something is extremely important. Extremely important. Okay. Always. So here we have Preus, lead or go forward. Okay, and the majority of these I had to figure out by reading the Tyronian note list. In archive.org. Okay, so this is I'm in the wrong spot. A new person. Awesome. Hi, Cascadian. Finally solved? Yes, it is finally solved. So, you've caught us in the middle of it, but that's okay. I'm going to put it here. These are all the reference material that I used. Sacrobosco is another, and Hildegard of Bingen. A lot of different works from all over the place. Used to decipher it. But now you've caught us right in the middle of the Tyronian notes. So these are the abbreviations that he uses, the Tyronian abbreviations, to denote extremely important words. Okay, so yes, he uses highly redacted Latin, highly redacted Latin in 99% of the book. I should say 98%. Uh, and then, of course, Tyronian note, and then the German word for salmon, due to the fact that it is kind of a play on letter to savon, which is another word for seed in another language. So let's go to Folio. Let's go to Folio 66R first. That is the literal doctrinal center of what the Voynich manuscript is actually about. This very unbecoming page you think would be nothing, but it is everything. This page right here, okay? Not this part. This, okay? The marginalia. All of this down this way. So Tyronian notes are really beautiful ways of saying something very quickly, but also to denote importance. And that is what the author of the Voynich manuscript does, is he's using Tyronian notes exclusively to stress the importance of the thing he's talking about. Okay. This page is agitating me. Speaking of folios, I'm having to refresh. I think archive.org is having trouble today, but that's okay. So this is the book, Commentarii Notarum Tyroniarum, the commentary on Tyronian notes. It is a 391-page book, extensively about Tyronian notes and how you can read them. I wonder why Archive is having such a difficult time. Seems like every time I try to use it, it's not working tonight. All right, well, let's go forward. Okay, so these are the Tyronian notes in the main page of the Voynich manuscript, right? They occur frequently on a roundel, a specific roundel. Now, I'll get to that in a minute. All right, so here we have the typical Voynich script. I refuse to call it Voynichese. That's so ridiculous. I'm not going to call it that. It's Voynich script. Okay. And then we get down to the end of the Voynich script right here. We see a set of Tyronian note. Okay, but then we continue on and we continue to see Voynich script until we get to here. And then it is Tyronian note. Okay. So whenever he writes Tyronian note, it is something extremely important. And in this instance, right here, and I love that he wrote it a little bit differently. Like he took very much care to write it compared to everything else. And this is the name of the Voynich manuscript, right here. The Liber Talus. Liber Talus. The Book of Suchness. And I will go ahead and pull up, let's see here. And this is the Liber Talus and my translation. Okay. Okay. Now you have to remember the text of the Voynich manuscript is layered. So you have a set of glyphs that can mean multiple things, but when you say multiple things, it's not any multiple thing. It's a very constrained set of specific things it can only mean. Okay? Context is important. Okay. So here we have the translation of Folio 66R, which is what we were just looking at. Okay. It's a symbol matrix. We would call it a matrix for a condensed lexicon. It is literally just using a word, right? Because yes, it's condensed. It's highly redacted medieval Latin. So it's normal abbreviations that we're just not aware of, right? Of Latin, of medieval Latin. If you look at some of the other, in my book, okay, it's at the very beginning of my book, I give a lot of examples of earlier Swiss German manuscripts that use the exact same highly redacted words, literally exact same glyphs. So it wasn't unknown to them, not entirely. But he did use artistic license in ways that he would write things, sure. But it wasn't entirely unknown. But yes, it's absolutely fascinating. Because it sounds choppy when you're reading it, right? But not every language sounds smooth in another language. Okay, especially with Southeast Asian languages. Okay. I mean, I'm sure you've seen on TikTok this is how such and such language sounds in English, and it sounds really weird, and that's just the way it is. It's the same here. It sounds choppy, but you understand still what it's saying. You can smooth it over in your own language, and it still means the same thing. And so that's what we're kind of running into with this. Okay, not only that, but what makes it difficult to translate, not decipher, but to translate, is the context. How many words he's using that can mean multiple things. Like ort or ortus, it can mean garden, east, spring, beginning, origin, birth, all of these things all at once. And that's a natural Latin thing. Like, it's not something that I made up. It is what it is. It's already... I see, so it would be like intellectual folk language for the time. Well, folk language is the opposite of intellectual. When you say folk language means, the everyday person's language. it's literally just scribal hand. I mean, like, for example, um, let me go to what we were at before. Okay. Um, Let me show you at the beginning of my book. I talk all about the origin and handwriting. I do handwriting analysis. That would be toward the back end of that. Here we go. Okay. This is where I start to do handwriting analysis between the Voynich manuscript here and all the others. Okay. I'm finding the same uh, abbreviations, right? Okay. Same handwriting style, the S's. Here we have Liber actually written out. Liber and then Aster, literally the same symbol set that occurs frequently. Okay. The same, here we have Horas for hours, H-O-R, but you just drop the H, right? That occurs in the Voynich. The same M with backwards flourish. These are all of these examples are Swiss German in origin. They're from the same area of Canton-Thurgau, Canton-Argot, in Switzerland, a very narrowed area. Okay. So, and oh gosh, where's the other? This one, I mean, look at this. This is not from the Voynich manuscript, but it literally is the same exact quote glyph. Okay, literally the same thing. This can either mean Terra or Cura. That's what it means. And then here we have Aster, literally the same exact glyph in the Voynich manuscript. Of course, watch, as soon as I try to look for it, it's like, I'm not here. Well, it's here, but I'm trying to find it by itself. You tried to do the term artistic license. Yes, because when he's creating the cipher, he's having a little bit of artistic license in the fact that he's using loops when it's not always needed. That's what I mean by that. It's not like a wide range of artistic license. And a scribe is not a folk person. He's a learned intellectual, not a regular folk layperson. So that's another thing that people seem to misunderstand, is that a scribe is not a regular everyday person. He's learned, right? So that's not giving him his due. He was an intellectual. There is no misunderstanding on his part about what he's capable of. All right, backward. Okay, let's go back toward. All right, so this is a lot of the hand that I analyzed in the process, looking at the hand of the Voynich. And this one struck out the most to me, and this is from where Clemens Specker was from, in Königswald Abbey, which was the specific abbey built by the Habsburgs in honor of their ancestral seat in Switzerland, which was not Austria. So there's that. Here's some of his work here, his artistic work. Aspect when I could be going over the other stuff. All right, so let's go back to Folio 66R and the translation there, okay? All right, so I'm going to read the marginalia first. That way, side by side. This is the marginalia. This is the main body here. Okay. So this is inem astrologicus. So we're going to start with the horizontal. Okay. This is the horizontal. Reading it left to right, left to right, left to right. This is vertical. We're going this direction only. Okay. So this is inem astrologicos, because the 9 is a vowel plus S. Okay. Inem astrologicos. Okay. Inem astrologicos, inem aqua, inem quatuor sunt astrologicos, consisti iorum et aquas, causa qualitates licit astrologicos, illo, and this should be labor, not laboro. Illo labor esse cum constellarium, cum sororum, cum causam illo stellarum, illorum causam enim aster aqua. Truly the astrologicals, truly the humor, truly the four. The astrologicals are made of these, and of the humors whose cause are the qualities. It is permitted for the astrologicals' work to be with the constellations, with the sisters, with the cause that of the stars, the cause of them being the star humor. Now, aqua is humor. Okay? It's not water, it's not liquid. It's directly translated to humor because in medieval period, in European understanding, the humors are liquids. So that's a known terminology. It's just you call the humors liquids or waters. So aqua is humor. Okay. And you're more than welcome. This is my book. You're more than welcome to read. Actually, this is Libertalis. I haven't put this in the next one, but I will be shortly. So this next one says, I'm going to read the English because I have a lot of other information to go over. A lot. Okay, so it says, with this and the cures, since this is permitted, the book of suchness. Every year they are the cures, or there are the cures. Since the elixir is permitted, with this they are indeed the elixir of Christ, directed toward the labor of suchness. This comes from these, by which the work is done. This is suchness, thus they are. Okay. Excuse me. Suchness is Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhist concept of ultimate reality, of what reality is at its core. That's why he says, thus they are. Okay. This is the Turonian note for Talus. So you have a European monk traveling to the Far East, learning about Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhism and how to apply it in a physical healing sense, but then, of course, learning that it's not just about herbalism, it's about liberation from suffering. Right. The folk. It reads like poetry. No. No, it does not read like poetry. It is not. No, not at all. Quite the opposite, actually. You don't have a degree of freedom of interpretation. So it's very straightforward. There's no degree of interpretation. So he says it's directed toward the labor of suchness, right? Cum hoc et curae, cum sunt hoc licet liber talis, annua sunt curae, cum licet elixir, cum hoc sunt enim elixir Christus, et hoc talis laboro, hoc ab his qua enim laboro, hoc talis talis sunt. So there's not a degree of freedom of interpretation. So I will read the English, and then you're more than welcome to read the Latin on your own. Okay. It says, there is the seed of the olive of Jesus, of the son to which Jesus belongs, by which it is made through the elixir from which the cures are, since the cures are made as I create the qualities, meaning hot, dry, cold, wet, the qualities of the four humors, right? Which arise from the highest. And year by year the cures are made fruitful. Now the word fruitful or fruit is important because it's not just the concept of, oh, it create the plant creates fruit. No. In Tibetan Buddhism, the word fruit or fruitful is extremely important. So on that folio lies the essence. We go into essences, and that's extremely important in Tibetan Buddhism as well. The folio lies the essence, as the stars arise in the humor and through Jesus on the folio of the olive, on that same folio of the rising of the stars. And through Jesus on that folio the cures are made, the cures of Jesus for which the diseases are chosen. Okay? The diseases have their own section. It's all the writing in the back that have the bullet points that are stars and flowers. Those are the folio osis. So he uses a suffix as a noun. So he uses the word, the suffix osis as a noun for disease. I mean, why not? Right? It means disease. So it's on that same folio. Yet on that folio, the healing star flower. On that folio, the essence of disease arises through Jesus. Now, in medieval humorism and in Tibetan Buddhist healing, you have both the disease and the cure that arise in the same place inside the seed. Right? And that makes sense from a practical perspective even today. You could eat a plant and you can either be cured from it or die from it. That's that. Okay? But this is more of a metaphysical thing rather than just something literal like that. Okay. So the folio shows the astrologicals when they make this. Okay, when it says the astrologicals, it's referring to the celestial map. Okay, those are the astrologicals. And in the language, or I should say it's language, it's the metaphor, right? The allegory of sisterhood that's being used to describe the relationship of parts between items or between subjects. For example, okay, let's pick this plant. This is Wongbok cabbage, okay? It's gonna let me select it. What's happening here? Okay, Wongbok cabbage, right? So let's say we're talking about this plant being needed, right? We would say that the sister, we would say that the item that needs to be paired, which oil or which star that needs to be paired with this, we would say the sister of this. So you're using the analogy of sisterhood, of familial relationship, in order to pair items together. So you're not saying, uh, go dig up this plant, right? And, put this with it, right? Put this oil with it, or mix this with this. He uses sisterhood instead. Yes. So, yes, you're right. So he's taking, let's hypothetically, because I haven't translated all of this particular page, but take Wongbok cabbage, and you're like, okay, so we need the oil of clove, right? Paired with this. So then you would say in Latin, soror enim, and then the name of the thing that you want to pair it with, right? Soror meaning the sister, and then enim, E-N-I-M, in this case, is being used for the word being, B-E-I-N-G. Not indeed, but being. The sister being this. You're saying the sister is this, right? So it's just using sisterhood as an analogy for pairing items together. Pretty straightforward. And what's really cool, I found this by accident doing another project of mine, trying to identify the original Ha'oma and Soma of Zoroastrianism and Vedic religion, which there's the sacred plants of both traditions, the same plant. And I was reading the Rig Veda and found some commentary by a famous commentator, and couldn't have jumped out at me more. It said that it was often the analogy of sisterhood, of familial relationship, specifically sisterhood, was used to describe how things were related to each other in Ayurveda. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what's happening in my other project, the Voynich Manuscript. So I had confirmation that is what is happening. He's using an Ayurvedic method of describing relationships of parts. You're like, wait a minute, I thought it's Tibetan. Yes, it is Tibetan because Tibetan Zawa Rigpa draws on Ayurveda and Chinese traditional medicine. Both of those two make up Sour Rigpa. Now, if you get into the nitty-gritty of different types of Sour Rigpa, you realize there's an Amdo version, different regions of Tibet. The Amdo region has a different type of Sour Rigpa in which they are allowed to use other plants if, the typical plant that they normally use is not available. No, not a sisterhood. Absolutely not. I know everybody likes to push that idea, but it's not true. No. The scribe is a male. Okay. Women, until this day, even today in Tibetan Buddhism, women are not, we don't have a lot of freedoms religiously and intellectually. So, especially during the early 1400s, it was an absolute no. Like, you could not learn this if you were a woman. So this isn't just Sour Rigpa, and that's what I'm going to try to get at to in just a second. Sour Rigpa, the science of healing, which is traditional medicine of Tibet, drawing on Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, okay? It's not just about Sour Rigpa. The Voynich Manuscript is about Kalachakra Tantra, and even more so, women are not allowed into that at all, okay? During that time period. Oh, the description for sisterhood? Oh, because the text says soror enum, right? Soror, the sister being, talking about the relationship of parts. Now, I had already knew that from the text itself, but when I was looking at the Rig Veda, right, uh, for a different project I had for the Indus Valley script, I was reading some commentary and it stood out to me and I was like, oh my gosh, he's describing what the author of the Voynich manuscript is doing. So in the Rig Veda, there's a famous commentator. You can go online and look this up. You can just look up the Rig Veda translation and you'll see his name. Uh, Starts with an S, but I'm getting a mind block right now. But I think it's Sayana. Anyway, uh, so Sayana comments in there and he says that it is commonplace for the analogy of sisterhood and familiar relationship to be used to describe relationship between different things. It's almost the same exact thing that I was saying, to the T. And that's an Ayurvedic thing. So you you have to do like a hop, skip, and a jump, but not really that many. Um, Tibetan Sowa Rigpa draws from Ayurveda, Indian Ayurveda, but also Chinese traditional medicine, right? It does. Okay. Um, that being said, one second. Okay, so it draws from both traditions. And so that's why it's using the Voynich manuscript is using the same concept because it's based on Tibetan Sowa Rigpa, the whole entire document. So it draws from those two things. So of course it would naturally draw from Ayurvedic way of thinking or speaking. And in fact, the entire manuscript is actually also indicates Tibetan language as well. How the modifiers are sometimes you have kuya securorum at the end of the sentence. All these. Oh, and here's another thing. They leave out. He leaves out uh, subject. He'll mention it the first time in the beginning of the sentence, but later on, when he keeps talking about the thing, he leaves the subject out, and that is weird in the scope of writing, but it's actually quite common in Tibetan. Question. But let me pull up where soror. There's just so much. I really suggest, and you don't have to buy it. You can look it up on KDP. Even find the ebook. I might have pulled the ebook. I don't remember. Um, it's called the Voynich Manuscript, the Cipher and the Compendium. I talk all about this, lots of things in detail. This is my second edition. I'm going to come up with a third very shortly. But let's get to soror and did I miss a solution? Could you please repeat it in about 2 or 3 sentences? Uh, um, what did you miss? Because I'm about to go to the actual text Is that what you're asking? You want like a textual example? Uh, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. But I already told you. I already explained it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Thank you. Okay, so now that that was completely derailing, um, I'm going to end the live in about 20 minutes, so let's go over something neat. Oh, look, exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so here we have the Pleiades. Okay. And then we have the label next to it. So I naturally went to this. Here we have SOAR 9. Okay. I initially this is now wrong. Okay. Not wrong in the sense of completely, entirely, gutturally wrong, but I just realized a stem mistake. So this is still soror, S-O, meaning sister. Okay, soror. This is not astros, like I thought, but astrologicos. Because the other stems for astrologico, astrologicorum, are all the same. So this is the sister of the astrologicals. And so now doctrinally, this makes so much more sense this way. Um, because in Tibetan Buddhism, the Pleiades are the sisters of the astrologicals in the uh, in the opening of the Kala chakra. So that's what this is. They are the sister. That's why it's not plural. It always bothered me that it said sister asterisk. Why would it not be plural? Sisters, right? It should be star singular, sisters plural. And that always bothered me. And then I realized now it's because the Pleiades are the sister, the pairing to the astrologicals of the celestial map. Right here. So these are the astrologicals. It even says it. Look at that. Not astrologicorum. Ordinat astrologicorum. The order of the astrologicals. Okay, that's what these are. In fact, this page is referenced a lot as Folio Astrological or Folio Astrologicorum or Folio Astrologicos. This page is named throughout the rest of the text. Oh, thank you, Cascadian. That's really sweet. Also, let's just go off the text for a minute. I want to show you something so cool. You ready? Do you see all these tubes and these triangles and these scallops? These three elements are important. They're a specific South Asian architecture. To a very, very poignant part of Southeast Asia. Hitting the right click button, I apologize. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. The Kingdom of Dali, okay, is in Yunnan, China. All right, I should say the former Kingdom of Dali. Okay, the former Kingdom of Dali ended around the late 1200s. However, it was Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhist for quite a while. Okay, the Tibet. Let's see if I can pull up Google Earth. This will be fun, you guys. Fun, fun, fun. Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm about to do. I actually showed the map route that he took in his traveling scratches. Yes. So there's a lot, obviously. It's going to take a second. Uh, but I discuss all this. I discuss you would miss otherwise. You know, from in a certain particular part of the world, what time period. Uh, mm. We're not doing all that. I just want to explore. Can I just explore? I don't want to complete anything. Okay, thank you. Hey, God, too many questions. All right, so India, right? Thank you, Cascadian. Uh, honestly, I've only scratched a teeny tiny surface. Spend 6 to 7 hours talking. I literally will spend 6 or 7 hours talking online about everything. I won't be able to do that tonight, but okay. Let's start with Switzerland. He's over here, right? Travels across the Swiss Alps, down Croatia, Germany. Good Lord. Croatia, Greece, this way. Okay. Okay. Here's Gujarat, India. It is a big book. Okay. Here is the Hindu Kush region, the western side of the Himalayan arc. He travels all the way across this way to here. Okay. 80% of the plants that you see from this region. Now, during the early 1400s, Tibet was vast. Okay. It extended far into what is now modern-day China. Okay. So here we have Yunnan, or Yunnan, however you pronounce it. Here we have Myanmar, Burma. Remember we said that the Sunoke, those version of pottery was Burmese, right? That's because Burma's right there. Okay. Oh no, I'm about to zoom in. Yeah, I just wanted to give more context. Okay. So China, the Chinese government likes to say that all of the Tibetan, even still culture is Sichuan and Yunnan and other areas of Myanmar and up here are still Tibetan. But let's see. Okay, so the kingdom of Nansao, okay, is also the kingdom of Dali. Okay, that's where it gets its name from. Okay, Ming era. And that's why you also see the same shapes, okay, in these walls in the Voynich manuscript of the Celestial Map. They are Ming era walls. Okay, these are all T terraces, by the way. Um, the reason why they're T terraces is because T's are elixirs, and the Voynich manuscript talks about electuaries and elixirs. Now, what's interesting is that in Yunnan, there is the famous tea forest, and that's what he's depicting. He is showing the tea forest. To this day, it is, I think, now a UNESCO heritage site. In fact, the movie Kung Fu Panda was based on uh, the actual person. The Kung Fu teacher, the Kung Fu master. So here we have Dali. Try to keep the cursor on it. Okay. Dali. And Tibet goes all the way up this way. He's not the No, 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 no. Kung Fu Panda Master is not the author of the Voynich. No, 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 no. I was saying that the Kung Fu Panda Master was based off the actual Kung Fu Master of Dali. So he's the author of the Voynich manuscript, Clint Specker, the monk, climbed all the way through the Himalayas, Gujarat, India, the subcontinent. He even went down here. Oops. Go back in here. Poor little blue planet. He actually traveled down through Yunnan, the Bay of Noi, down this way, through down here, this way, up this way, and down this way. But what's even cooler is, so y'all have me all over the place. I've not gone linearly in this live at all. Typically I do chronologically, and it's just all over the place in the information today, which is fine. I just the element of surprise I feel like has dwindled some, at least for me. Okay, so and these things, these are kilns, firing kilns, by the way, if you're wondering. Oh, you guys, what was I gonna say? Like, oh, this is what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so Dali, Yunnan, China has some interesting architecture. Okay, um, it's called Tonghua and Fanghua. Okay, hopefully and Wangdong. Hopefully I'm not like saying it wrong. Um, okay, these are pinyin terms for the type of architecture. Wa, wa, right, Wadang. Okay, these are Wadang tiles. See the tubes? Okay, these are the end caps, but they're a part of tubes. These are called Wadang. Okay, that's what these are. These tubes that you're seeing are Wadang. Now, you see these scalloped things? That's another architecture of the area. Um, Fang, I can never say it right. Fangua. Hmm. Hmm. That's not it. They're scalloped. So, okay. Let's see. Hello. These are really hard to figure out, but they do exist. Um, just give me a second. Because looking up pinyin words is kind of difficult as it is. Okay, scallop tile. Oy vey. Alright. Dali. Scallop. Roof tiles. That might help. These things, right here. These are not as good of an example. These are just one version of many. There are others that actually have, like the, if you know what I mean. Like right here, you can see it a little bit better. There's another set where you can actually see it in the exact alternating version the Voynich has. I just have to sit here and look for it, and I really don't want to spend that much time doing it. But that is what he's trying to depict. Okay, you're more than welcome to look for it on your time. But yeah, this is basically what he's depicting, and all of these architectural motifs are specific to the Dali region specifically. The Bai people, Bai, of the former kingdom of Dali. Okay, all of these elements. So you've got the Ming era fortress walls, right? And then you also have all of these different types of roof tiling specific to the same exact region during the Ming era. And by the way, these are little flags. These little triangle things. They're little flags. They're hanging flags. That's what they are. And that's another by Kingdom of Dali thing. Anyway, so Kingdom of Dali, spent a lot of time there. It was a Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhist area, despite it being now part of China. Again, here is the Medicine Buddha. Okay, here's another Kingdom of Dali sculpture. How funny. Has the same cylindrical head with like pretty much no features, okay, as the Medicine Buddha in the Voynich manuscript. And of course, this is from her crown, this Amitabha Buddha of Guanyin. And Guanyin is just the southern Chinese version of, and I can never say his name, I feel so bad, but Avalokiteshvara Buddha in Tibetan Buddhism. So this, despite it, okay, I need to make something very clear. Despite there being a Southern Chinese culturalism to this smidgen, it is not Chinese. The Voynich manuscript is Tibetan. So I want to make that clear. I know it gets a little confusing because of the architectural motifs and the brief yang symbolism. Doesn't make it inherently Chinese. That area of China at the time was Tibetan. They practiced Tibetan Buddhism. So it wasn't entirely Chinese. And I'm putting air quotes right now. So it's still Tibetan. The entire document is Tibetan. It's Tibetan Kala Chakra. And yes, southern China does have its own version of Vajrayana Buddhism, but that version does not have Kala Chakra. Does it make sense? So yes, southern Chinese Vajrayana Buddhism doesn't exist. It is not the same kind that exists in this area. Does it make sense? There's nuances that are important. So the map itself almost seems to be a flower. Yes, actually, if you take the map and pull it like it was on a string, right, from the center, okay, it would be a mountain. It would be a pyramidal mountain. So this is a mandala for Meru. Okay, this, you pull it from the center, hang it up like a chandelier. These will hang lower just a little bit, right? This is the center. It is up the highest. These are all on the same plane. They hang just below it. It is a mandala for Kala Chakra, and it represents Mount Meru in Kailash. Latin Buddhism? Latin Buddhism? What do you mean by Latin Buddhism? I've never heard of Latin Buddhism before. I'm curious. Oh, this gets so deep, like the text. It's really intense. mean, I haven't even gotten into the text at all yet. So, oh yes, yes. Okay, I see what you mean. I was like Latin boozing him. I was like, does he mean the text and the? Yes. So he's using Latin language because he's European, right? So he's trying to figure out a way to describe everything in the respectful way of using Latin, because in his eyes, Latin is the language of God, right? During that time period. Uh, and he knew that other scribes would read Latin. So it wasn't the book, obviously you can deduce the book wasn't made for everyday people. It was made for scribes, right? For monks, for scholars, uh, for healers. And if you read the text from my translations, you can deduce that. It says, you will have made this. The healers of the healing, or the healing is of the healers. Da 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 da. You know. But yeah, the meeting is Buddhism. Again, let me show you right here, right? Folio 78V, the most important one. Um, for now, I say that for now because as we dive deeper, the proof for the cultural context will disappear. We won't need it anymore. Because I will no longer be beating a dead horse. It will be understood. Alright, so I sent a Folio 78V imaging request to Yale Beinecke Library. Miss Lisa Fagan was so nice to respond to my email. And this is the folio I requested to have imaged. In fact, I do have a petition on change.org to have it imaged. So this is Folio 78V. This is what proves that, without a doubt, okay, if anybody wants to scrutinize my translation, right, they can't refute this, okay? Here we have the 7 windows. They're not windows, they are what they call chaityas, which are arched ways for the Buddha to sit in, okay? There are 7 of them, which is important in Tibetan Buddhism because there are 7 emanations of the medicine Buddha. You can see the circles on the inside, and on this last one, you can see the actual figure fully. Okay, that is the medicine Buddha sitting inside the chaitya. And the reason why they're blue is because the medicine Buddha in Tibetan Buddhism is the king of lapis lazuli light. And I would very much like to know what this blue pigment is made out of. There's only several that you could choose from during the medieval period, right? And with it being so bright, I don't know. I don't think it's the typical European version. I literally think it might be crushed lapis lazuli. So I would very much like this blue on this page to also be tested. Aw. Thank you. Yeah, dude. It literally is once in a lifetime. I have to remind myself when I go through, because look at this. This is hard to decipher, okay? It racks my brain even still. And I kind of get overwhelmed, you know? And then I'm like, you know what? I have to remember it's a once in a lifetime deal. This only happens once. It only happens one time. I would say the monk author shows Latin since all the people in Europe use Latin language for God. And the Kung Fu monk wanted to share the Buddhism with Latin people. So, no. No, 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 no. Okay, so how do we explain this? No, no. The Buddhists, no, it didn't want to be widely shared. No, that's why it's quote unquote linguistically ciphered. So, I mean, okay. So, in the early 1400s, Latin was not a common language. Okay? Only scribes knew it. Only the special elite, which are the scribes, knew it. Okay? That's why they were given the jobs of being able to write down all the books and all this other cool stuff, right? The histories of the rulers and, anything that had to be written down was a monk's job, right? The monks were knowledgeable. Most people were not. Some of them couldn't even read. So, so yeah, it wasn't. Today we think of Latin, oh, like Latin. Everybody knows about Latin, right? Well, no, the average person didn't know Latin. They couldn't even barely read. Um, so they did not want to share it, which is why it was ciphered. Okay, so Kalashaka Tantra is meant to be secret. There's the inner, the outer, and the secret Kalashakra Tantra in Tibetan Buddhism. Okay, um, yeah. But the other reason for it being ciphered, linguistically ciphered, I should emphasize that because it's not mathematically or statistically ciphered. It's none of that crap that we like to place on it. It's just linguistic. That's all it is. And it's not even really a cipher to begin with. It's not really that, honestly. All the conventions that he uses were used anyway. Uh, like mashing the words together when they don't belong together. You know. Anyway, um, so so yeah. Uh, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just what once you start seeing and understanding the method that he uses, it's pretty straightforward. It's a little frustrating just because he'll pick and choose when, like, uh, like the letters are mashed together, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. The paper was expensive, absolutely. But he did try to throw you off, for sure, because here and there he'll put one word right up against the next. Okay, and that's what he would do. For example, Curai. Okay. Here is EE for essentia. S9 is sed. Curai essentia sed. Now, you could also read it this way. What? Sound cut off? Can you hear me? If we split it straight down the middle, right, it would be curati Isus. Isus. Curati Isus. You have to keep that in mind when you see them mashed together. Okay. That's why it looks so repetitive, because he will literally like mess you up trying to mash them together when they don't belong together when you read them. Okay, here's another one. Curai essentia. Curai essentia laboris. But it could be curati elementus. That's why it's frustrating. This could be cui Isus. Cui Isus. Or it could be creati sed. Creati sed. Here's another one. Ort, O-R-T, Ort Aster. Remember how I said we were, no pun intended, we were looking at the word AR for Aster in the other manuscript? Well, here we go. Okay, Ort Aster. Or it can be Hock, Hank, Hook, Hick for the O. Folio Aster. Folio Aster. Okay. Let's see. Here's an easy one. Super easy. One of my favorites. Cui. Cui. Electuaris. Electuaris. Cui electuaris. Quanto et amene sunt. Yeah. Did it skip? Is everything good though? No more skipping? Honestly, it's Streamlabs. It's a pain. Okay. So then we have... Where was I? Said sunt. Sunt qua. Okay. Cui Isus. Oleae creas igloram. Cui Isus. Oh look, one I haven't known yet. This could either be qua enim, or it could be a completely different word. I don't know. Okay, so that's aqua et a here is V and N. So it's via nobilis aurum curae iesus astrologicos et ordinat aster ordinat sequi ordinat oleae amene oleae anni constructa iesus aurum curae sed curatorium, like the book curatorium stellarum what did they do with all the aqua means humor. Alright, well, I'm gonna have to continue this because it's extremely late and way beyond my bedtime. So, I'm more than happy to actually continue this tomorrow. If you have any questions for me, feel free to email me. It's at founder@glyphpublishing.com. And thank you for your time, and I will see you most likely tomorrow evening. Oh, I work with the three humors. They combined the biles together. But yes. Alright, I will see you guys tomorrow. Neither. The elements are related, yes, but they're not the same thing. Back on around 9 or 10 tomorrow night. And I'll be more than happy to actually start from the beginning in a linear fashion, and we can talk about all of this, and yeah, it'll make more sense if we do it that way. Thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow between 9 and 10, okay? Have a good night. Be safe. Make good choices.